Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be hosting a discussion with two industry leaders, disruptors in their own categories. Guthy, Renker, and Shopify have proven to be disruptors. They continually stay ahead of the curve. Shopify has been arming the rebels and now powers more than 10% of online shopping in the US. Guthy Renker has been successfully launching brands for over 30 years. I think we have a lot to learn from them. So it's my pleasure to welcome Karthik Sivanandam, SVP of Growth and Strategy from Guthy Renker. Karthik is a seasoned leader with over 12 years of experience at Guthy Renker. He's built an e-commerce strategy for a portfolio of over 12 brands, including crafting a highly effective team and large-scale marketing campaigns across multiple online sales channels. And Rachel Lowe, head of solutions engineering at Shopify, she leads an army of technical go-to-market team of retail engineers, D2C engineers, and demo developers. And our team at Recharge loves working with her team. So with that, please welcome them to the stage. Welcome. All right, great to have you both here.
Thank you for having us.
We're so excited.
All right, so before we get started, I want you to share, just for fun with the audience, what's your favorite subscription?
Well, this would be an interesting question for me.
Which of your children are you going to pick?
Yeah, that's the hard one. So, well, it's an easy choice for me. It's one of our newest brands, and I've become a big fan of it. It's called Kind Science. So that's the product I use every day. So it's a skincare line.
Great. How about you, Rachel?
Can I pick two? I'm going to pick two. Who cares?
Yeah, she already told us she's a consumer too.
I have to. I can't pick just one. I love my dog. I hope many other of you are also dog lovers. So I have a subscription to her dog food, which I love. It's also on Shopify. And then, of course, I love Perricone MD. So it's a great skincare brand.
Great. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about Guthy Renker?
Sure. Guthy Renker has been around for 35 years, and we've been early adopters of the subscription model. We've launched over 50 brands. We are still founder-led. It's incredible to see those two founders still walking around the office and talking to us. The story goes just like any entrepreneurial story. They took their limited savings, moved over to the West Coast, and they happened to be in the Santa Monica beach and ran into someone, and they started a self-help brand, and that person turned out to be Tony Robbins. So that was one of the starting points of how Guthy Renker started, and along the lines, they met two incredible dermatologists who had this awesome product, and they wanted to get to market, and they wanted to start with the name of the product, and that was called Proactive. So how many?
Does anybody here use Proactive? Show of hands.
Who has not heard of Proactive?
Come on.
So it turned out to be a multi-billion-dollar brand for us. And then in 2014, I think we launched an unmet need in the market, and that was called Crepe Erase. That was our introduction into body care. That was a completely new category. So all these three examples are kind of like the DNA in GR, where we try to create a new category, be it acne, be it self-help, be it body care. Those are areas that we innovate in the entire category and kind of grab the market share. So that's who we are as a company.
And you would have seen a number of the brands up on the slide, so I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of those. I'm curious, Crepe Erase, it's what Guthy Renker is really known for, is really identifying sort of underserved skincare needs. So, I mean, how did you come up with the name Crepe Erase, and how's that evolved for your customers?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the DNA of the company. Before it was, the cool term is D2C, but 30 years ago it was direct marketing, direct response marketing, and the name of the brand should deliver the message. Crepe Erase, and we kind of invented the term crepey skin, and we kind of resonated with the audience. So that's the story.
So it says what it does.
Exactly.
Very straightforward. Yeah, makes sense. So after decades of launching successful D2C brands, or what was it called before? Before direct to consumer?
Direct response marketing.
Direct response marketing, yes. Okay, so going back all these years, launching all these successful brands, you clearly have a successful model. You know how to take these cosmetic brands to market. What prompted you to look at your technology that powers all of taking these brands to market and reconsider it?
Yeah, I mean, we were early adopters. I think we started subscription 20 years ago. So subscription back in the day was either, more analogous to something like newspapers or magazines. Very rarely you'd see, a company, maybe we were the only one who were shipping millions of shipments at scheduled intervals where we could customize the products and bundling of different products. So, when you turn around and look at like technology partners, they were just not there in that time period. So we had to build, and along the way came this incredible term called LTV. So as we had this phenomenal success, we had to figure out how to build these little functionalities over a period of time. So, and here's the first story. So in 2008, financial crisis hit, and we listened to our consumers. And one of the challenges that they were seeing is they loved our products. And, there was insecurity in terms of how much they want to spend. And our retention managers got with a bunch of engineers, and we launched, what is called Afterpay and Klarna today. We had our own solution, and we continue to have those. So that's one way of how we keep our ears to the ground and keep listening, and how we built that tech stack over a period of time. So now, fast forward to where we are today, companies like Recharge, Shopify, great platforms and products that have come together. So we're turning around and looking at what are our competitors doing. We don't have, I guess you guys have like 100 engineers working on checkout. And the core DNA for us, as successful we are in bringing products to the market, we want to remain entrepreneurial. We strive in doing that, and that's our strength. So our core DNA is we want more marketers thinking about products and how do we get them to the consumers. And as long as we have reliable tech partners in what we see with Shopify and Recharge, I think that's where we are headed towards.
Well, and I think what I also really appreciated in working with your team, and I really have to give your whole team, the whole team at Roll, I hope you're out here because this shout out is for you. You didn't try to boil the ocean. Like when you first came to talk to us and Recharge, you had already had an idea of what you wanted to do because you were already innovating for the last 20 years. So it wasn't like I was coming in or my team was coming in and saying, have you thought about this? Like your team had really already thought about it. And I think what I also really appreciate is we talked to a lot of very complex enterprises at Shopify. They're looking to change so many different pieces, and candidly, it's really difficult to boil the ocean. But you and your team never did that. We first started talking to you back in 2022. Maybe our product was ready, maybe it wasn't, but you really kept your ear to the ground and watched how much we innovated, right? Until last year when you were working with us and Duncan at Recharge, and you decided that you really wanted to just do a proof of concept, which if anyone is considering Shopify and you're not on Shopify yet, you can talk to me about it after this chat. But you wanted to test it out.
That's right. And for us, the strength is that we have so many brands as a portfolio.
So many.
And so it was a methodical, empirical way of how we tested it ourselves into it. First, we launched a brand that was not subscription heavy. Then we went into subscriptions, and it's been an incredible journey. That's also going to like how one of the things with being entrepreneurial is being frugal and scrappy, and that's what we did.
Yes.
And that helped us a lot in our journey, and we feel a lot more confident with, as we have incrementally built along, Shopify, Recharge, it's an amazing ecosystem. So it took us a bit for someone like, where we've talked to the larger, platform vendors, and then when we start talking about how there is an incredible kind of ecosystem that you guys have developed, and Shopify introduced us to CQL, and they've been an incredible partner along the way for us in building the solution that we need. It's mostly like the products out there, and how do we push the platform, and that's where I think we've been spending a lot of time.
And you incubated. Like, I have to just really give Karthik lots of props. Like, he's probably not going to be to boast about himself, but you made the decision to put 2 brands. You tested them out first in a POC, which I think is significant. Like, if you are considering doing this, like, test in a POC first, get confidence in both Recharge or Shopify or Checkout or whatever you're thinking of changing, and then you incubated all of your brands before migration.
That's exactly right. So, as much as like there is this market force, incredible market force, thanks to what you guys have created with Shopify, we've been very, very thoughtful about, like, end of the day, these are technology solutions that's empowering our business. And we're adopting Shopify because it solves a problem, not because we need to be in Shopify and it's not something that's being told to us. So that's been the big story for us in terms of, like, let's be even-keeled. Don't promise anything too much. Let's just try a couple of things and then let the story speak for itself. And it's starting to come out that it's getting really exciting as we look towards the next couple of months and with the launches coming lined up.
So you've been ahead of the curve on D2C, on e-commerce, subscriptions, and even sort of installment payments before any of these technology providers. Now you get to focus on actually marketing the products.
That's great. I should record that and send it to my CEO because he would like to hear if I've been ahead or I'm behind. So
3 decades ahead, for sure. I'm interested to hear, coming from a subscriptions background, why is that important to all your customers and brands?
It goes back to what Jen said in her presentation yesterday. It resonated really well with me. So it's how the entire industry is shifting towards a routine-driven economy and how that adds value. And when I thought about it to the brands that actually worked well for us and how we've supercharged those brands, be it skincare, be it self-help, it's all about, like, creating that habit. And once you create that habit, then the data that comes behind it is so valuable. And we got a binder in the office somewhere where we still keep letters of customers of how our products have made a difference in their lives, and that serves as a as one of those data points for us to keep doing what we do and how subscription is valuable to the consumer. Since we've been in the business for like 30 years, some of our consumers have been there over 10 years. And it's funny when you think about, like, people who are nervous are like supply chain engineers who are like, I really have to redesign this packaging. And then you those subscribers are your biggest friend, your advocate, and your critique. So, and if you change the packaging, they do notice it. So, and then you're looking for this feedback. So you get this incredible feedback loop of how these consumers are valuable to the business and how it actually serves the consumers.
Where are you capturing that feedback?
That's a great question. So, data is such an important aspect when it comes to subscriptions, right? So, and we love data, and of course, and this has become a fad of saying, everybody is working on data-driven decisions, but truly, when I walk into our performance meetings every Thursday, it's not like fancy dashboards or cool charts. It's our incredible data scientists who can put this lovely 4-point, 10-column, 13 rows kind of dashboard where we have to walk through each metric and how they interplay with each other. And that sort of data is incredibly valuable. And then how do you take that alongside with qualitative metrics? So if there's a book recommendation I do have is, if you guys haven't read it, it's called Quantum Marketing. And it
Quantum marketing?
That's right. And this left brain, right brain, and where is this intersection? And that book does really well. And we've been trying to adopt that a little bit more of, like, there's data everywhere, but it talks about what and a little bit of why, and then how do you take action on it? I think we've been trying to meld that with qualitative feedback as well. So it's noisy, but when we capture it and we got, teams, processes, technologies that are helping us kind of dig through that a lot more deeper. So there it goes in terms of how we look at data.
I'm interested to hear, speaking of data, what are your key performance metrics?
So the running joke is anybody who comes into the company has to take this 3-page, 3-letter acronym workbook. So you can think about anything from CAC to LTV to there's so many metrics, and over the years we've kind of looked through, and there isn't one real direct metric that I'm focused on, or as a business we are focused on, but it really comes down to LTV as one of our key motivations and drivers, and there's so many aspects to that LTV metric that is behind, and as subscription marketers here in the business, I'm pretty sure that's pretty common metric that we're behind. But when we look through data, the maturity of data that we get in context of how our data scientists look at it is, if we spend X amount of dollars bringing 1,000 customers, what are those 1,000 customers based on product mix? What did they buy? And how are they valuable over the next 5 years? Is a weekly data set that we look at, and how that helps us pivot into different areas of how we look at the business.
So when you think about all of your brands, it sounds like some of your customers stay for a very, very long time. And what we see in our data from Recharge, from our 5 million subscribers in the beauty category, is that they stay the longest of any of the verticals. So I assume, to see Crepe Erase work, you want to use it for a little while, or proactive in that case. What are some of the things that you've seen that really have impacted, I guess, a change of strategy when you've looked at data, or something that's surprised you when you've looked at the data and said, oh, that's not what we expected?
Yeah, so any new brand that we take in, the marketing team comes up with the USP, this is the target audience, and this is what goes, and then we leave it out in the market and wait for the market to respond. And analytically speaking, subscription marketing is kind of driven towards data mining in many ways. You're going out there trying to appeal to the largest category of customers, and then what you get back as feedback is in terms of churn. You can't avoid churn. And in one of our newest brands that we've launched, we did this analysis where, again, thinking left brain, right brain, the data set that we pulled was amongst our cohort of churned customers, and we put some data metrics behind who are happy customers who churned and who are unhappy customers and who have churned. And we asked 2 questions to them qualitatively, and that was, what was the outcome that you expected in using brand X, and did you achieve that outcome? So when you ask those 2 questions, and the feedback that you got helped us kind of think about what is our marketing message out there, and amplify the messages who are the happy churners, and kind of not talk about the ones that, why were they not happy? So were we promising something that the customers didn't get? And so that kind of feedback loop is something that is incredible. And as much as we love doing, Omar talked a little bit about like how much demo doesn't have everything that you're looking for. And subscription businesses give you that data set, and that's been incredibly valuable in how we tap into it. So that was one of the recent examples.
How about you, Rachel? What are you hearing from the customers that you're talking to who are coming to Shopify? Is this similar to the challenges and the opportunities that they see?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we were talking about it either this morning, I actually have some data points. I wrote down some data points, which is why I brought my notebook with me. Who doesn't love a little bit of data? We're actually seeing about 260 billion lost in cart abandonment, right? So like, you're already engaging with that customer. They're liking the identity that you've built, hopefully on Shopify, maybe not. But that's a pretty significant amount of revenue. And then what we also were seeing that once they get over to checkout, 87% will abandon if your checkout is too complex. And then if it takes more than 2 minutes to check out, 60% will walk away. And so we're hearing a lot of that feedback from our customers. And so to your point about data, we're actually challenging ourselves like, okay, how can we make it easier for our merchants and our partners when they're trying to increase against some pretty big macro elements, right, happening right now in our economy, to ensure that they're consistent, that they are battle-proof, they're tested against however complex they want to build their checkout. And I think that that's where you're seeing Shopify really push forward our checkout. I mean, up to 36% against our competitors, pretty cool stat. But I think on the other side, it's just like being able to meet you where you are. Like, what is the hardest thing happening for you right now? Is it that you want to reach a new market, like a new audience? That's something that Shop Pay, we've been talking about, has really significantly helped. I mean, just the mere fact of Shop Pay being on checkout increases conversion by 5%. But if they decide to use Shop Pay, and they're actually using that as their accelerated checkout, that actually increases uplift by 50%. And so now you're not just expanding, like who is actually looking and getting aware of the new brands that you're bringing out, whether it's a new celebrity bringing a brand or Creperays, which is like a new problem set, of course, you can reach more people using Shop Pay or audiences or all these different pieces of innovation that Shopify has been rolling out. And so we really, really hope that the more that we evolve, we are meeting what customers need. And candidly, like I was saying, 2022, I don't know if we were ready to meet all of your needs, but definitely even in just a year, we released over 200 significant features. I mean, since 2020, we've released over 800 significant features just to keep up with that rapid pace of what you need based off of what you're seeing from your consumers and your problems.
And that's exactly what we want to hear as merchants. End of the day, is like, there are incredible people at work trying to develop these features, and we want to stay ahead of our competition. And I can't think about having 200 features developed with our in-house engineers. So that's where it helps with partnering with Shopify and Recharge in these situations.
Great. Well, I think I want to hear from you, Karthik, on corporate strategy. So as your brands have evolved, you've stayed ahead of the curve, you're innovators in the space. You have this very startup mentality, but you've been around for 30 years. So how do you maintain that startup culture, that innovative culture within the company?
Yeah, as a company, it's, I think everybody in the team brings the what's next kind of thought process into every decision. So be it a success, be it a challenge in the business, it's like, what next? What are we going to do? And one of the story goes is during pandemic, every one of us had love-hate relationship with hand sanitizers. And so our product marketing team found a product opportunity, and they brought an opportunity to introduce a product that was, how do you get the benefit of using hand sanitizer, but reduce the effects of what it does to your skin? So incredible product. And the good news, as they brought in, was they could bring the product in 4 weeks. And that turned out to be bad news for a lot of people, which means that the launch was in 4 weeks and 1 day. And you have this dichotomy of like where you have these dozens of brands doing multi-million dollars of business, and you have technology stack and products, and then you're turning around and trying to launch this particular product in 4 weeks. It's a huge shift, and the can-do attitude is what got us there, and we did launch it. Turned out to be great, and that's what made us think about our tech stack more deeply. It's how do we not use brute force? How do we be smart about it the next time? How do we get to a place where launching brands, how do we get quickly out there and stay innovative on that front? So that's what made us think about, like, how do we step ourselves into not building ourselves a huge list of items to do every time that we have to think about launching a brand. So that's how the story goes in terms of how we set ourselves up in terms of this particular journey. And the company by itself, in its DNA, the very nature that it's privately held and we are trying to be nimble, that's one of the biggest reasons, is it helps us stay nimble. And every executive in the team has a pet peeve of how they're closer to the consumer. One of mine is I read reviews every day. As they come in, I have to read them, and I take actions on them myself. And every executive in the company has different ways of how they are connected with consumer. And when you grow too big, and it becomes harder and harder to kind of stay connected with the consumer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Talk to your customers. It's the fundamentals, right?
I know. I think like a lot of times it sounds so basic, like stay close to your customers. But I think as a technology platform, Recharge as a technology platform, you as our customer, right? You're our customer and you have your own customers. But I think we also need to make sure that we're thinking of how you're interacting with your consumers and how you work with them and what might improve the way that you work with them to whatever output that might be. You said already the pandemic, I mean, that put us through a seismic shift. Like that was a significant shift for all of us, not just in the way that we live, but also the way that we're thinking about building technology for you. And then that also changes the way that you're interacting with your consumer. And if we don't all challenge ourselves to really stay close to our customer, again, sounds so foundational, but is so critical because there are so many things that we can't control. We couldn't control the pandemic. We couldn't control this significant wave of technologies with AI, ML is changing, Gen AI is absolutely rapidly changing the way we work. And I think we're going to talk about that soon, is we're never going to be able to be ready for the next wave. And so that's what I really appreciated working with your team. You know, we stayed really close to you telling us what you needed because you knew what your customers needed.
And that's absolutely true. And we were talking about it at breakfast, is like how incredible the team is at both fronts, where the knowledge about platform as it evolves, like everybody on the team is so comprehensive about their understanding, or they know how to engage with the feedback that we are providing, and that's been incredibly valuable for us. Is as fast-paced as Shopify is innovating, and as quickly Recharge is moving with features and whatnot, it's been great to see how, I'll shout out for Duncan here, who's been incredible in terms of like resonating with feedback and bringing in the right people to the room and hearing us. And that's super valuable for us.
And on that note, is there any advice if there's other brands in the room who are considering moving from their custom technology or platform over to Shopify and Recharge? What should they be considering? Is there anybody else that they should be working with? How do they set themselves up for success?
That's a tricky question when you have Shopify and Recharge on either side.
That's all you need, right?
I was just
and
thinking
Duncan.
that. I was like, ooh, that's who is he going to name?
No, I think that, I'll stay true to, we have to go through our own evaluation, but there's incredible market force when we go out and say that, we have a tech stack, right? I mean, GR is in the business of finding, growing, and selling brands. That's what we do. And over the years, it's becoming clear to us in the marketplace, if we go out and say that we have this incredible business and it's running on this tech stack that only we understand, it becomes a challenge for us. And so just partnering with the market forces where the market is headed is kind of a smart way to think about it.
Great. All right. Well, as we wrap up, is there any last piece of advice that you would give this audience?
I touched a little bit on it. I think it's not advice, but I think what's happening right now in AI is sick. Like, it is absolutely sick. Whether or not you're considering Shopify or not, like, really think about how we can leverage the two different sides of it. If you also haven't walked over, I forget what you're calling it, but like the demo
Product
area.
office hours.
Thank you so much. Yes, I watched an incredible demo of what Recharge's AI is going to do. And they're doing it on two different facets. There's one side of it that is completely just ML. They are looking at what all of the different cancellation notices are going to be, and then they use Gen AI to actually surface in your admin suggestions of why your subscribers might be canceling. And they're prompting all of those ideas, right? And so that's actually a really cool combination of using both ML and Gen AI together to bring something meaningful to whoever's mastering your admin. And maybe it might be someone who's not that technologically advanced, and they don't need to be, right? Because that data is being aggregated for them and it's being suggested. And it's the same thing that Shopify is doing. We were talking about it this morning at breakfast. Like, on some points, it's a little bit concerning. You're like, is this true, what ChatGPT is telling me? But on the other side, if leveraged appropriately, right, on our side on Shopify, we've launched product description generators, making it much easier when you're uploading a product to be able to suggest how you want to describe it, but also suggest attributes or taxonomy to make it much easier for you for semantic search. I mean, that is so cool. Like being able to layer those different pieces, I think is critical, right? Because as we're talking, the economy, the environment is changing. The technological advances happening right now is similar to when we moved into our mobile phone. And that, I think, means like all of us have this amazing opportunity, whether you're a technology partner or you're a merchant, to be able to build for something for the future that is for the long, long term. And I think that that's something that we all can look forward to. And I think Shopify and Recharge are building together to be able to do that, which hopefully you'll be able to benefit from.
Just to check off a box, right?
Yeah,
and
for
it should
you.
start working. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's got to be, if we don't go into a meeting and we don't talk about AI, it feels like we've not
Missed something,
right? So I think beyond the hype cycle of AI, I think for us on the merchant side is, we're cautiously considering AI and what it means. And while there's a huge momentum in terms of how platforms, technologies have been adopting, we got to think about as how we position ourselves with the brand and what it means for us and how can we be responsible but yet stay ahead of the curve. So that's what is exciting in the coming months as we start thinking about, and quite honestly, getting the fundamentals right in what we do as a business is what helps us free up our minds to think about like what does it mean for us in the next 2 to 3 years. So having these platforms fundamentally connected and working for us is going to get us to the place where we need to.
Great. Well, I am very grateful to work with both of you and to have this collaboration and to continue innovating so that that team who was probably under a little pressure for those 4 weeks can stay healthy. So please give them a big thank you. Rachel, Karthik, thank you for being here today.